see, for the past few months, we have been dealing with a pandemic. Across the country, Americans have suffered because of two things. One, a virus. A virus that now has killed tens of thousands of Americans. The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, was something China knew about. But they, along with their cohorts at the World Health Organization, refused to alert the world that human-to-human transmission of this virus was possible and could put billions of human beings at risk. That virus has spread across the globe as a result. We've also seen a great deal of suffering because of government officials' reaction to the virus. They told us we had to shut down the American economy. We had to shut down our way of life in order to defeat an unseen enemy. In some parts of the country, these lockdowns are still largely in effect. In other parts, the reopening is only just beginning. But for months, we have been struggling with all of this. Told by elected officials and unelected public health bureaucrats alike that this was necessary, these lockdowns, these stay-at-home orders. You have to put your life on hold because that's the way to flatten the curve and save lives. And we trusted that. Many Americans were just okay with it. Most. For weeks. Fine with it through the month of April. Going into May, you started to see the uprisings, the protests, peaceful protests at capitals and elsewhere around the country of people who were crying out for help because their small businesses were being lost. 40 million Americans saw their jobs ripped away. Many Americans across the country are struggling with deep mental health issues. Children not going to school. And as a result, may be home in abusive situations. And their teachers at school are not able to intervene because they're not seeing what's going on with the children. We've talked with a healthcare executive who said that he knows someone who back in February was told, nope, we got to cancel your scheduled biopsy because it's not considered essential as a medical service. We can't provide it. I'm hoping she's gotten the biopsy since then, but as of mid-May, nothing had changed. In other words, people across the country have been told, you might have cancer, we can't check though. So much for catching cancer early. These are consequences that have come about because politicians, public health officials have said, we're focused on the virus and you must do this to stop the spread. And the reason that this is the way we needed to go about stopping the spread of the virus, trust us. We know that this is best for you. We're in positions of authority. Trust us. And for a long time, most Americans did. And then it dragged on. And people's lives were not only put on hold, but devastated. And economic ruin. And other health issues, mental and otherwise. Social problems. All sort of swept under the rug because authority told us we must shut down. And then what happened last week? Last Monday, a week ago today. One of those authority figures, the very same kind of authority figure we were told to trust during the pandemic and outside the pandemic, extinguished a human life in a senseless act.
I can't breathe. Please, the knee in my dick. I can't breathe shit.
Bro, get up, get in the car, man.
I will.
Get up, get in the car.
I can't move.
Now, we have had racial tensions in this country that haven't gone addressed, police issues that haven't gone addressed for many years now. And I think the visual that we all saw across this country helped Americans understand that who hadn't gotten it, myself included. And for a few days, we were all unified because of that travesty, because of that inhumane killing, murder on screen now. We can see it. Now, given racial tensions that have been going on and police issues that have been going on for many years, and then you have 2-3 months of people locked in their homes with no consideration for mental health and lost jobs and more, people recognizing they can't rely upon the government to provide for them. In fact, they shouldn't. So let us live our lives. It should come as no surprise. And we've talked about it before, especially with Basil Baz as ex-CIA officer for months now, about the potential for civil unrest in this country, and it erupted mid-last week. It was the spark. The murder of George Floyd was the spark that lit the fire that many of us were hoping and praying would not happen. Only the scale that we're seeing is even more massive than I could ever have imagined. Let's put up some video of some of the riots that have swept across the country. Atlanta, Georgia, one of the places that followed. Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where it all began, with the murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin, police officer, with 3 other officers standing by and allowing him to do this. So the protests and the riots began in Minneapolis, Minnesota, spread to places like Atlanta, Georgia, to a lesser extent here in Denver, Colorado, to Raleigh, North Carolina. And we'll talk with a business owner from Raleigh whose business was just devastated. New York City in flames. Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, in flames. There are 3 lessons. 3 lessons we need to take away from the current crisis. Number 1, we need to address race in police. And as I write about in a local column for Colorado Politics today, I'm here to listen and to engage in meaningful suggestions, meaningful ideas on what to do. This is a national problem, but it's really localized. It requires local solutions that maybe can be spurred upon by national leadership. We do need to address race and police in America today. Moreover, riots are patently unacceptable. Destroying property means destroying lives if you are ripping away everything a business owner has as they're trying just finally to reopen their business after being told you had to shut down. There is no excuse, and it must be condemned, and more forcefully than a heck of a lot of elected officials around this country have condemned the riots so far. We need that kind of leadership. Later we'll show video of the mayor of Atlanta showing the kind of leadership other leaders should do, and I have to be honest, I haven't seen it from anybody I can think of. At any level, any political party like the mayor of Atlanta showed on Friday. And finally, the lockdowns and the absurdly slow march to reopening the American economy must end. This is proof positive that, as one friend told me, we need to rip the Band-Aid off and just get back to life and face our chances with the virus. And we need to do that because we must recognize that keeping people cooped up isn't working. On Saturday's Jimmy Sengenberger show on 710 KNUS in Denver, we had 4 ex-military and CIA and police officers who all told me they think martial law may well happen before we know it because of the level of unrest. Now, that is a troubling thought. But we have to trace back the past few months and for years and recognize that it is time to address these issues, to reopen, and to make sure that we are all coming together as we were in the first couple of days after George Floyd was murdered. Unite together and say, we need change. Let's come together. Let's do it. There's an opportunity here. I suggest we all take it. You just watched a clip from Jimmy at the Crossroads. Don't miss more engaging, intelligent talk. Subscribe to the Jimmy at the Crossroads YouTube channel today. You want to catch our live show. And I love your support.
I got Jimmy at the crossroads, making sense out of no sense. Yeah.